Nakba, as it was presented, Nakba in Arabic means catastrophe, and it also means tragedy. For us Palestinians, it is the most tragic nightmare to happen to a whole nation in the modern history. The irony is that while we're having the Nakba Day, while we're just mourning the loss of our land, the Israelis and the Zionists are celebrating the Independence Day, or what they call their Independence Day. The wonder is like, how can people celebrate what they call independence when they're just living on a stolen land from the indigenous people, from the Palestinians? Their celebration just show how sick, twisted, and obnoxious their mentality is. Because in the Nakba, 750,000 Palestinians were forced out of their land. 450 villages were destroyed and people were evacuating their homes. Dozens of massacres were committed against Palestinians and hundreds of people were killed. So celebrating what they call the Independence Day while we're mourning our death and losing our land is just pathetic and disgusting. Since the so-called Israeli Independence Day, or the beginning of our Nakba, we Palestinians have been through ethnic cleansing, we've been through torture, and we've been through massacres, as we've seen in Gaza. I've witnessed myself 2 wars, in the war in 2008 and 2009, and the war in 2014. And I've seen a number of Palestinians fleeing their homes, which is what I call the second Nakba, before what's happening in Syria right now, which is the third Nakba. So we Palestinians are just living a Nakba after a Nakba after a Nakba after a Nakba. The Nakba is not over yet, 68 years, and we're still suffering, and this must end. When I came to the concept of the Nakba, I was a child and I was living in Jabalia refugee camp in Gaza. It's in the north part of Gaza. I didn't know anything about what does the word Nakba mean. And I used to hear the word refugee camp the whole time, Jabalia camp. And one day I asked my father, what does camp mean? شو يعني مخيم? And he told me, come, get your shoes on and come with me. So I put my shoes on and I followed him to his car, and he took me to the highest point of Gaza Strip. So I was looking at Gaza from this mountain, and I saw Gaza. And he told me, don't look here, look at the other side. And we were looking at the border of Gaza Strip, the northern side of Gaza. So he told me, do you see this border line? I told him, yes. Do you see that area? It's called Majda. I told him, yeah, I know that is Majda. And this place is called Erez. And this place is called Sderot. Do you see the green land in there? I told him, yes. And he said, this is our land. This is where your grandfather was born. And we were farmers. We used to plant oranges, olives, and strawberries. And we used to transport it to the whole world. But today, the Israelis or the Zionists came to us and they took this land from us. Do not forget your land. One day, teach your child that this land belongs to us. It doesn't belong to these Europeans who came from the whole world to take our land. The problem is that the Israelis think that over time we're just going to forget. We're just going to let go of everything and we're going to accept the status quo. We're just going to live in Gaza Strip and the West Bank and forget about our whole land. This is not true. If you look at Palestinians from generation to another, there is new people fighting, and they're fighting more than their parents. Today I'm going to teach my child, and I'm sure 100% that he's going to fight more than me for the state of Palestine. Palestine will be free from the river to the sea. From all the land belongs to the Palestinians. It doesn't belong to the Israelis, it doesn't belong to anyone. It's our land, it's stolen from us, and it will be back to us. 3 weeks ago, I arrived to Edomini, which is, as many of you know, there is the refugees crisis where people are suffering. And I went there to tell the stories of the people and to help them with whatever I could. While walking in the refugee camp in Edomini, between the tents and the mud and all of that, I'm not going to tell you about the suffering of the people there. But in general, there's a guy, like, he was looking at me from the door of his tent. And I felt that the guy he knows me. So he was waving. So I went close to him and he said, you're Mohammed Matar from Gaza. I told him, yes, I am. And I just felt embarrassed. My face turned red because I don't know how to react when people tell me that they know me. But the guy told me, I'm also a Palestinian. I'm a Palestinian from Syria, and this point is called the Palestine point. It's 28 tents with all Palestinian refugees from Syria, from Lebanon, and from Iraq. And then he invited me for dinner, to join them at dinner that night. It was like a weird feeling because these people do not have much and they're inviting me for a dinner. So at night I went back to them and we ate the dinner, which was a really delicious dinner. I'm not going to tell you what I ate. And then afterwards we just lit on a fire, we sat around it and we danced dabka. We started talking about the Palestinian refugees. So everyone started talking about their experiences, how the refugee camp they were living in looked like. Some people were talking about Yarmouk, some people were talking about Ain al-Hilwa, and I was talking about Jabalia refugee camp and how it feels like. And while we were talking, a guy from us, between us, turned on a song. It's called Raj'in Ya Watan. Every one of us was crying because we are Raj'in Ya Watan. هنرجع لبلادنا and Palestine will be free. And one of the people who were surrounding the fire said something that I will never forget. He said, I am sick of moving from a camp to another. I want to go back to my country, to Palestine. I was a refugee in Syria, right now I'm a refugee in Greece, and I will be a refugee in Germany. But I do not want that. I just want to be back to Palestine. And we will be back to Palestine. Thank you very much.